What's going on, everyone? My name is Kenneth Beard with Stock Indices here, where I go over economic data reports and my thoughts on the overall economic trend. All right, we're going to get straight into it. Today was a very simple day. There was nothing much. Fed Chair Jerome Powell was interviewed on 60 Minutes. That's the only thing that was really pushing the markets today. No real economic data reports for today. So we're going to keep it simple at that. And this is Market Watch, by the way. If you guys want to use Market Watch, it's an amazing platform. I am not sponsored by them by any way, but I use it for basic economic news and just news on different securities and stocks that I may be watching. And so it's a very good investment if you want to go ahead and pay for subscriptions and just get their top-notch news reports. So as far as you go and dive a little deeper into what Powell went over today and what he said in the 60-minute interview. Basically, what he said was he told Americans that the economy is going to start growing strongly, but they shouldn't expect the central banks to start raising interest rates as a result. So he's saying basically we're going to have this strong economy coming back, but don't expect rising interest rates, which is going to actually be good because they start rising interest rates start rising. That's going to make a decline in stocks and equities, because essentially what that's going to do is boost up borrowing rates. Boost them. It's not going to be as easy to borrow money from banks and things of that nature. So he's saying don't expect that to start rising. Don't expect interest rates to be going back up. As long as the market is going to start going in the right direction, they want to make sure that they can sustain that. I feel like for as much as possible, they want to sustain it with the low interest rates as much as possible. And then once it starts to get too crazy, the market is having this crazy growth, then they will balance it out. But right now, it's no time for balancing. Of course, they want the market, they want the economy to kind of flourish out from here, with giving other people leeway as far as interest rates. So like I said down here, you can just read this down here. He said, as by CBS News, he said, Powell replied, so what we said is that we'd consider raising rates when the labor market recovery is essentially complete and we're back to maximum employment and inflation is back to our 2% goal and is on track to move above 2% for some time. It'll be a while until we get to that place, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's my hypothesis there on why they're not going to start trying to bring in that equilibrium once the market starts to get a little bit too strong. Because they always want to keep an equal balance. They don't want to. It's kind of like I think of it as a delta neutral way. You want your deltas to be neutral. If you are being neutral in market, you got iron condor or something like that. You want to be neutral essentially. So essentially, what they want to be neutral, but they can only do that once we get back to the place in the economy. Once we get back to the growth in the economy that we were already at before. So that was pretty much it for today. I thought that was really interesting. That was pretty much, all he had to say as far as that, to just sum it up. So let's go over these futures here. We got the E-mini S&P 500 futures. S&P 500 futures, you can see, just like what he said, growth here. We've just been following a trend, looking strong, very strong above the 50 SMA. It's overbought as of right now, so don't get worried if you see a pullback sometime soon. But even if we do get a pullback sometime soon, I believe that the trend is going to continue to rise just off of this strength, just off of the economic growth, right? So you can see just displayed here, we're making all-time highs today for the E-mini NASDAQ futures. So that is a good thing to see. We're heavily bullish on the S&P. We're heavily bullish on our equities and things of that nature. So that is for that. We're going to look at these small cap E-mini Russell 2000 index. Sorry about that. I was looking at something on my phone. But yeah, so basically with this here, what I've kind of been noticing is as far as the S&P goes, S&P's making new highs. The E-mini Index futures are just kind of consolidating here. Like I said in my previous video, this may last a couple more weeks, who knows. But the reason why I'm saying it's going to last is we had a very strong uptrend. We were overbought for the longest, and we were just uptrending, uptrending, uptrending. Now it's time for this market to consolidate and pull back. And even though it's been uptrending for such a long time, having this very substantial growth and um, the small caps and the Russell 2000 small caps, it's still holding up pretty well. We're holding up above a key level here. Although we are consolidating, although we're kind of intertwining with this 50 SMA, it's kind of giving us some mixed vibes on whether or not it's going to fall off and dump from here. You can see right here, it's kind of just this from here go down, and don't know why it's not letting me use my marker. Okay, so we could here and bounce back up and continue to do this, but as of right now, we're making lower highs and kind of intertwined with the 50 right now. That the market isn't strong enough to continue to make highs. So with this buildup starting to happen, just be on the lookout for eventually, once this does go back into its normal trend, it's going to be a very strong uptrend and breaking out to new highs, just because, you know, of all of this combustion right now of just sideways movement for such a long time. That, and I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about in a stock that I'm going to go over later in this video. So next one we got is crude oil. Crude oil off of the highs by about it's off of the highs of about 12% and some change. So it's off of the highs about 12%. So we've dropped quite a bit on the crude oil, but right now we're kind of consolidating here and squeezing. And like I said, this usually happens when you get a period of exponential growth, and then the market pulls back into a consolidation, pulls back into support, pulls back, period, or whatever it's going to do for quite a bit of time while it regains some of that stamina. So that's kind of what we're looking at here, pulling back, and now we're just consolidating here, waiting for that next move higher to all-time highs, because we did get to almost 70 bucks for crude oil on the futures. So still watching out for that. Once that expands and goes higher, and we see the crude oil go higher, I'm better be looking good for crude oil. But as of right now, just kind of waiting out here. It's a good opportunity to load in if you want to buy some crude oil, or get in with some options, whatever you want to do. It's a good time to kind of focus in here and wait for that next move higher for crude oil. And that's how I'm kind of looking for it. Of course, it could always break below our support and continue to go lower. That's not the play I'm looking for. If it does that, I'm not going to get in there. But of course, if it goes higher, it looks good for crude oil. And that's all I'm going to go over. Well, actually, I'm going to go over the Qs. Qs was quite interesting. Qs been gapping up ever since, the market had that strong rally. Qs have just been, and Qs, by the way, if you don't know, it's NASDAQ. Qs have been looking pretty nice. We just got to some overhead resistance not too long ago, and so we've just been sitting there. And this is, I'm kind of, not a lot of volume in here right now. So once the volume starts to kick back up, I'm confident that the buyers will take this to all-time highs. That's for NASDAQ there. And last one I'm going to go over is the VIX. The VIX was very interesting to me. I seen it. VIX is down. It made a low of 16.2. Now, that's an all-time low. I don't think I've ever seen the VIX this low before. In my days, I've never seen the VIX get this low. So this is just showing us that the fear factor in the overall market isn't there. There's no fear factor. The market is doing quite well, and that's what we want to see when we are bullish, the market. So if you're an index trader like me, VIX, looking at the economic indicators, putting all that together as far as looking at every single index and whatnot. That's all you want to be looking at. These are all the fun. I'm giving you guys everything that I'll look at as far as indicators and how I'm gonna go with my assumption and placing my trades. This is everything that I'm looking for here. Looking at the volatility, implied volatility, looking at the trend, looking at the indicators, looking at these Fed speeches to see what they're saying, because what they're saying is going to impact the overall market as well. So that's all for indexes. We're going to go over one stock in particular that I trade quite often because I just love its movement, and that is Google here. Google, I was actually in position for Google about 4 weeks ago, and I held it for about 3 weeks. And Google was just consolidated, right? And this is what I'm talking about. This is that example I said I was going to show you guys, where we gapped up and we had exponential move higher off earnings here. You can see here we beat $22 on earnings, gapped up. When we had that huge gap up and that huge exponential growth in the stock, in the company, whatever it may be, what do we have after? What's following? Consolidation, some sort of pullback, something that is loading up, a combustion period. I like to call it a combustion period because it's like when you put a balloon underwater, right? And you're holding the balloon underwater. The balloon, what is it doing? It wants to come out the water, right? So it's like you're holding that balloon underwater, you're filling it with air, and it's starting to get more and more energy and more power as it's in the water. And you let it go, what happens? We get this huge move up, right? We get this huge boom, move up, 11% in just a few days, right? So that was for Microsoft. Made quite a bit of money on that one. Sitting above the 50 SMA as well, showing us that bullishness. As long as we're above the 50 SMA, I'm quite comfortable with going bullish. As soon as we get below that 50, that's showing me that we're seeing some moderate to severe bearishness. So that's why I kind of stay away from going to the long side. As long as we're above the 50, though, look quite well. So that's the only stock I wanted to go over for today was Google. Right now, Google is kind of I think the uptrend is over. As of right now, it's cooling down. So as Google's cooling down, I'm going to be waiting for it to put in some support like it did here, waiting for it to put in something. I just kind of want to identify this trend a little bit more. But as of right now, I'm still, as long as it doesn't get all the way back, to this gap level, to this here, where it looked like it had some resistance and had some support as well. As long as it gets to that 2150, I think that Google, they tripping outside, but as long as it doesn't get there, I think Google has some room to continue to go higher and keep making this money here. So that's all I'm going over today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You learned something. If you did, leave a comment. Any questions you may have, I will go over them in future videos. Leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with other people in the stock community. I'm looking to just empower my way of trading, which is a little bit different. I trade mostly indexes and high-priced stocks with options, but I'm a seller. I sell them, so a little bit different. I haven't really posted a lot just explaining my strategy, but the more I do post, you guys are going to see that coming out. I'm going to start working on a lot of different things as far as courses and stuff like that goes. But as of right now, it's all free content. I just want you guys to kind of pick my brain and understand what I look for as far as picking stocks to choose and to trade options under. Right, so I will see you all in the next video. And you guys trade safe.